Do I really need another eyeshadow palette? Absolutely no, but do I want one? Absolutely yes. Hi, welcome to The Art of, a place where I try to have a deal with my FOMO and not to buy another eyeshadow palette. Let's see how far I can get this time. Holiday releases starting popping up, and Makeup by Maria has released a new eyeshadow palette. It is called Ethereal Moonlight, and I have to make a confession. As soon as I saw it, my first thought was, I need it. I need it because, first of all, it is cool toned. It is extremely cool toned. Secondly, there are a lot of ravingly good positive reviews on how great the formula it is, how blendable it is. And thirdly, it has 4 new shimmery shades. Not shimmery. It has 4 great toppers, which my eyeshadow collection would definitely benefit from. So I was like, why not? Then I saw the price. It is almost 100 Canadian dollars, and I thought, is it really worth it? So why not try to duplicate and to see how much of use I can actually get of such a pricey eyeshadow palette? Actually, I was very curious to know if I can dupe it. So when I started searching for the dupes in my collection, I had to rely mainly on the swatches because I believe that in different lights, that palette looked very differently, specifically if you look into the browns. On some pictures, they are warmer than on the others. And there were others when you could see that it has a lot of those gray, bluish undertones. So I used the video with swatching as a guide to help me with the color matching. I also watched a lot of promo pictures and tutorials to get a sense of how the colors look on the eyes and what kind of looks I can create. And I quickly realized that I don't have a lot of shades that are exact dupes, that are not even close dupes. But there is always a solution. Once again, hi from the Talking Hands. Today we are going to try to dupe the new palette by Makeup by Maria. And if you are wondering why some of my palettes are missing the pans, it's because I'm still playing with my inner corner highlighter palette. So while it's still in use, please bear with those empty spaces. Let's get started. So the very first shade that I can see is M1, and what I can immediately see is that it has white, or I would rather say ivory base, and spot on, the closest dupe that I can see is definitely in my Tempera from ABH. The next one is EM2. It looks like a very sparkly topper with blue, green, and silver sparkles. The closest thing that I have in my collection is Sugared from Blueberry Muffin, which, as you can see, the empty pen is in a different eyeshadow palette. So give me a second to grab it. Here it is. So it has a very nice green and silver sparkles. In order to get a little bit blue, I think I will top it with Natasha Denona Retros Pixie shade. It has a crystal chrome finish, and I think this is the closest I can get to. Or what else I can do is once again use it as a base and top it with Pat McGrath's Blue Special shade. Oh, I think that's a little bit too much. I think the first variant was the best, so let's grab it. We've moved to EM3, and this is a very tricky shade because in some lighting I saw it more like pinkish, while in other it has a little bit more of gray. So obviously I can go with 2 options. The first one, if I go with the pinkish one, I can use Bon Fresco from ABH. But if I'm taking the gray road, I need to combine Boa from Colourpop That's Taupe with Mythos from also Colourpop, The Mandalorian. But my gut feeling is telling me to go with what looks better on me, so I will take out Bon Fresco because, as always, I want to get the best use from my Pan This eyeshadow palette. By the way, I definitely need to repress the shade. Moving on to one of the darkest shades, EM4. In the picture, it looks more like black with a lot of sparkles. But according to the swatches, it does have a very dark, very rich, very oily base, but the sparkles are not silver as I thought at first, but they are more like navy colored. I don't have any black with navy colored sparkles, so as always, we're going to improvise and combine things. I think I will get the blackest black from Pat McGrath Mothership 3 and top it with Going the Coconuts. That is a super shock eyeshadow from Colourpop that I have. I think the second option will be better. Let's try it out. So this is the blackest black with blue special shade. Here is Colourpop's Going Coconut. Which one do you think is better? I think I'll go with the second option. Let's see how this match will work. But you know what? I've noticed one more black that will work great as a base for that eyeshadow. So maybe we can use this one. But like on the second thought, now when I'm looking at this palette, if I add a little bit of blue, little bit of black, isn't that looks like the palette we are trying to dupe? What do you think? We are now in the second row. So EM5 looks to me like grayish taupe. I think this is the best possibility to get once again even more use out of my warm taupe from my Pan This eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to pull it out. But if you think that it is more colder because as the name suggests, warm taupe, maybe Python from Colourpop's That's Taupe will be a better option. Recently I had to repress the shade because it started crumbling and I couldn't pick any product on the brush because it was on the edges. Once again, I see that this palette is definitely leaning towards more grayish tones. And once again, I would say that this is according to swatches or pictures that I had at the moment of filming this video. Maybe in real life, it's totally different. EM6 is the second sparkly shade in the palette, and I can clearly see some golden base and obviously a lot of sparkles. So once again, I'm a little bit limited with my choice. I will go with Sweet from Blueberry Muffin because this is the only like goldenish sparkling shade. And I will top it with Pixie from Natasha Denona's Retro palette. I have the idea how we can try to maybe also dupe it. So this is Sweet. Let's try Line of Queens from Cleona. But I'm going to apply it lightly with a brush to give it a very dispersed sparkle. What do you think? How close is it to the original? Such a pity that pans in this BH Cosmetics palettes are not magnetic. You know, looking at EM7, I somehow cannot shrug off the feeling that I have seen it somewhere. And you know what? It looks a lot like a special shade from Pat McGrath palette. I think it's called Moonlight Seduction. Give me a second to double check that. You know what? Here is the palette that I was referring to. And in terms of picture, the special shades do look very, very similar. But now looking into the swatches, I can clearly see that they are completely different. But it's so interesting to see that both of those eyeshadow palettes bear the same name. Not same, very similar. Don't you find it quite curious? But anyway, according to tutorials in his Instagram page, that is the sparkliest shade in the entire eyeshadow palette. I think what I can do to emulate the same feeling, I will take Cold Blooded from That's Taupe and do the same thing by applying line of queens from Cliona Cosmetics as a topper. This is my rendition of EM7. Let's go with it. What do you think of this match? EM8 looks like bluish gray. Unfortunately, I have only 2 grays. It is Treat in Blueberry Muffins by BH Cosmetics. The gray in this palette, it is That's Taupe from Essence. Maybe not That's Taupe, something with a taupe. And as far as I remember, those are the only grays that I have. And both of them are true grays. So the only way I can duplicate this bluish undertone is by combining this gray with this blue. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Wrong shade. Give me a second. Let's try this one, the Treat, and top it with the blue. That's a little bit too much. No, that's definitely a little bit too much of blue. I think I will get Treat, but later top it with the blue from Celestial Nirvana. Just make sure that I do not put too much over. And since we were talking about bluish gray, I think I'm going to jump a little bit ahead of myself and move to EM11, because this is the blue that can make EM8 what we were looking for, that bluish gray. I would say that the blue in the original palette is navy blue. So the closest what I have in my collection is Nocturnal Navy from Celestial Nirvana from Pat McGrath's Special Holiday Edition palette. So let's move it to our DIY palette. Finally, we are moving to the easiest draw for me to replicate, because we have EM9, which is a cool tone brown, and my best cool tone brown is once again in that Pat McGrath palette. It is called Nightfall. Then we have the shade that looks like sparkly taupey topper. Taupey topper, that's a nice wordplay. I didn't actually intend it. I will use the only palettes with a taupe that I have, that's taupe from Colourpop. I will get this one and top it with Pixie from Natasha Denona's Mini Retro. We have already done EM11, and EM12 looks like good old nice black, which Pat McGrath Extreme Black should work the best. So what are my final thoughts? Even though I definitely do not have anything like this in my makeup collection, literally sometimes I had to mix the actual eyeshadows in order to get the right undertone, I'm still leaning towards not splurging into buying it, because I see that I can recreate a lot of similar looks with what I already have in my makeup collection. Plus, turns out that I'm slightly intimidated by that blue color, and I'm not sure if I would manage to get a proper use out of it. I know myself, I would definitely focus on those 4 sparkly eyeshadows, but no matter how sparkly they are not worth almost $100. So I think that at least 2 shades would be one of those shades that would be severely neglected in that eyeshadow palette. Through the process of duping this eyeshadow palette, I see that my eyeshadow collection definitely has a gap in nice good toppers. And one of you suggested buying actual topper shade from Makeup by Mario, which I would definitely get into more, or maybe I do need to get Urban Decay Space Cowboy. If you know someone who compared those eyeshadows, those single eyeshadows, or maybe you're the one who has them, please let me know what are your thoughts on these single eyeshadows? Which one is the sparkliest? Write it down. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!